so like we just said from the introduction, the IELTS speaking test is divided into three. The first part, or the part one, is actually called Introduction and General Questions. Just like you know, it means introduction plus general questions. So in part one, you are actually going to be having like two subsections. The first being introduction. Introduction here starts from when the examiner greets you, like you walk into the exam hall, the examiner asks you to sit, greets you, ask about your own name, and look at your ID, just to confirm that you are the one for the exam. So all of those have to do with the introduction. And then thereafter, you go to the general question section. In part one, you should understand that it is a question and answer section, right? The examiner asks you a question, and then you respond back by speaking your response, okay? So the examiner asks, you speak back. So it's a kind of question and answer section. So, but what is important here is that the question type here is everyday kind of question, question that wouldn't take you so much to start speaking about. Question like, what do you do? If you are a student, where to tell us about your education, simple questions like that. You may be asked about your hobby, about your hometown, about farming, petty things that shouldn't really take you so much to think about before you start responding. This is so much so because the examiner understands that when you are entering somebody's office for the first time, you might be apprehensive. So they ask you easy questions so that you can respond, and then you move into the major test. So that is the speaking part one. It is a question, question and answer section, and between 4 to 5 minutes you're actually done. All right, so we're going to look at strategies for passing the IELTS part one. So we're going to be looking at the strategies for passing part one. There are several things you need to put into consideration while answering part one questions. The first of such is ensure you are audible and clear. You are speaking to somebody, the person must hear you, and the person must understand what you are saying. So you need to speak up, you need to be audible, you need to be clear. The second one is maintain eye contact with the examiner, all right? But be mindful of your body language. Maintaining eye contact means we should look at the direction of the examiner. It's fine if you can look at their eyeball, look at them like, but what is important is don't look away. You can't be talking to somebody, you are looking to the left, to the right, up or down. So that is not acceptable in IELTS speaking test in general, not just in part one. All throughout the test, when you are talking to the examiner, you must look at the examiner, all right? Be mindful of your body language, like don't keep your hand like this. You don't need to fold your arms. You don't need to be playing with your fingers. It means you are timid, So some of these things, you should avoid them. And depending on the kind of chair that you'll be offered to sit on, you don't need to sit and like sleep over the chair. You comport yourself. You understand that you are under an exam condition, all right? So that is strategy number two. Thirdly, speak in 2, 3, or 4 sentences. This simply means ensure that you don't speak so much, because remember, it's a question and answer section. The examiner asks you the question, you give response. So it means you can give your response in 2 sentences, 3 sentences, or 4 sentences. That is fine. And this can actually be done by you ensuring that you answer the question head on. That is, you don't waste time. You just answer the question, okay? And then fourthly, negative or positive response is allowed, but you must ensure that you say why. For example, you can be asked, do you like football? Now, you can say, yes, I love football. No, I don't like football. You will not, the examiner will not mark you down for saying yes or no. So your response can be positive or negative response, but however, you should be able to say why, very importantly. Then you should take note of the possible component that should make up your answer. All right, we are asked questions about maybe something you own that is important to you. You are asked something about your hobby. You are asked a question about your hometown. You know, there are some elements that make up your hometown. You know, like the name of your hometown, the local government, the state, the estimated population of people living there. So there are components, some basic elements that should make up your response. So as soon as you are asked the question, you need to think very fast. So when you give your response, you mention them. The next is take note of tenses. Tenses very important. And I like to emphasize here, especially when you are asked a question about something that happened in the past. Take for instance, okay, tell me about your best friend while at school. That suggests something that happened in the past. So when you are giving your response, your tenses should illustrate that what you are talking about happened in the past, because that is the direction of the question. So you must take note of tenses and use them properly and appropriately. All right. The next you should take note of is vocabs. That is, you should be able to use words interchangeably, okay, randomly, you know. Don't let it look like you are stranded. You don't know the next word to use. And this means you should avoid repetition. For IELTS, repetition of words is no-no. It brings down your mark, all right? So these are some of the strategies that if you employ them in answering your Part 1 questions, I can assure you that you will have a very, very good score. Remember we said the IELTS speaking test is divided into 3. We are proceeding to the second part, which is part 2, and then we'll look at it and also the strategies. So stay tuned and ensure you watch the video to the end rather. Thank you.